Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for choosing to watch this video because today we'll be talking about something that is very important in the car industry, and that is buying a used vehicle. Now, in this video, I'll be highlighting a lot of aspects in which are important before buying a used vehicle. Let's get into it. Before we start the video, I just want everyone who's watching to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell, and if you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up. Or if you have anything to say or anything to ask me, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. So, buying a used vehicle. Before I get into it, I just want to say that buying a used vehicle is not such a bad thing after all. You can buy a really good second-hand vehicle in which was properly maintained or was even hardly driven. It just depends if you are able to spot the red flags when buying a used vehicle. The first thing you should look at when buying a used vehicle is the condition of the car. When I talk about the condition of the car, I'm talking about the exterior, the interior, and the engine. Those are things that you really need to look at. Now, if you're not really acquainted with the things that are red flags on the used vehicle, then you're in luck, because today we're going to talk about all of it. Alright, now when we talk about the condition of the car, there are some things that you need to check. Firstly, you need to check the overall look of the car. Are there any bumps, scratches, or dents on the body of the vehicle on the outside? Then another thing you need to look at is wheels. You need to check if wheels are new or they are old. Going into the interior of the vehicle, when you go inside the vehicle, the first thing you need to check out is the smell. Usually the smell will tell you what kind of people or what things were done in the car. So if this person was a smoker, you'll know by the smell inside the vehicle that the person who owned this vehicle used to smoke in the car. And if you don't like the smell of smoke in the car, then probably you might need a serious extreme interior car wash so that you can get rid of the smell. But it's difficult to get rid of that smell because it's already in the cushions of the car, but after some time it goes away with the proper shampoos and the proper soaps and the proper perfumes. It ends up getting to smell good. Another thing is you need to feel the quality of the plastics. Sometimes you find that there's a lot of chips here, there's a lot of interior color that has changed. Maybe the dashboard was white, now it has chips or black marks. Now you see that the paint has worn off. You should really pay attention to that because it also show you how the first owner used to take care of the vehicle. While we are still in the interior of the vehicle, another thing you need to note that is very important is, were they or is there any aftermarket systems in place? Sometimes you find that you buy a car and there's an aftermarket radio or an aftermarket sound system. Now that is a big red flag, because most of the time you find that a vehicle that has been fitted aftermarket material or sound system has an electrical problem. Some electronics might not work in the car, or there would be a lot of rattle here and there because some things are not fitted properly because they had to unscrew a few things in order to put those wires going where and things like that. Even in the exterior, check if the rims on the vehicle are stock rims or they are aftermarket rims. If they're aftermarket rims, you put yourself in a risk of having wheel alignment issues, having fuel consumption issues. So just make sure that the rims on the vehicle are rims that came with the vehicle or are rims that are for that vehicle. Another thing you need to check is the gear, or if the gear lever is still in good condition. You have to insert all the gears in order to establish whether the gear is still in good condition or not. And also, you need to step on the brakes so that you can feel if the brakes are too stiff or too soft, because there might be brake fluid that is missing if the brakes are too soft. Another thing is the clutch. And just make sure that the clutch also is not too hard. Now, you need to also check something. You must open the back seat. When you open the back seat, just make sure that the seats are screwed on properly. Sometimes you find that the back seat, it actually comes up and they are not screwed on properly. So just make sure that the back seat is also screwed on properly and the seats are also comfortable and the materials in the back seat are also in good condition. Once you are done inspecting that, now you need to check the electronics of the vehicle. Start the car on, check the lights, check the electric windows, check if the sensors in the back work, and check if the sensors in the front work if the car has back and front sensors. Check if the wipers are working, check if the indicators are working, and check if the water that cleans the windscreen is also working. When you're checking the wipers, just make sure that all the levels are working. You don't want the car having one level. As soon as you just click it on, it just goes one way. It has no stop or it doesn't go any slower. It just goes in the same motion all the time. So just make sure that the wipers are working properly. Also, just check if the hooter is working. You don't want to take your car out of the garage and you are trying to give a sign that you are thankful and leaving and you start hitting the hooter and it's not working. So just make sure that that is also working. Moving on your number 2, we have the year and the mileage. Now, the model year of the vehicle just tells you how old the vehicle is. Now, the mileage will tell you how much the vehicle has traveled. Now, if you mix those together, you will get different formulas. The first formula, it will tell you if the car still has a service plan. The second one, it will tell you if the car is still under warranty. The third one, it will tell you if the previous driver was a traveler or not. But I always advise, always buy a car that is within 0 to 80 kilometers. At least a lot of cars have a service plan and that is around 50 or a 4 or 3 year service plan. And also the warranty is sometimes 100,000 or 5 years. So if you still want a vehicle that is in good condition and still under warranty and service plan, you need to look for a vehicle that is 80,000 kilometers and low. On our number 3, we have the service history. You need to check the service history because the service history will tell you if the car was well serviced on time and if the engine is in good condition. It's mostly in the cabin. If it's not in the cabin, just ask the dealership for the car's service history. In that way you will know whether the car's engine was well maintained. If the car does not have a full service history, it's a no-go zone. Don't even touch that car. It was probably serviced by Andrew's uncle next door and the previous owner could not maintain the vehicle. So if somebody bought a vehicle and cannot maintain it and then decided to sell it after badly maintaining it and not servicing it, that is a big red flag. That car is a no-go zone. Strike it off. No matter how pretty it is or how good it sounds, strike it off. On number 4, we have personal research. personal research is you going back. Now you have seen the vehicle. You want to see if the shocks are working. You want to see if there is no problem with the brakes. And you want to check if the car responds the way it should respond. And you just want to see how the mechanics all work together when driving the vehicle. So make sure that you do not buy a car under any circumstances without test driving the vehicle. Test driving is the key point. You need to make sure that you test drive the vehicle. What I personally do when I'm test driving a vehicle is that I'll go to a speed hump at a very high speed and I'll slow down and I'll still hit the speed bump at high speed. The first thing that I'm checking there is that how good are the brakes. Secondly, I'm checking if the shocks still work and the springs of the car still work. So for me, that's a no-brainer when I'm test driving a vehicle. I do this all the time and it always tells you how the car is. And in most cases, you hear a lot of things when you do that. Just make sure that you test drive the vehicle before buying it, even if it's new or pre-owned. Another thing on research is just go to a shop that sells vehicle parts and make sure you ask for prices on the following things: the tires of the vehicle. The specification of the tires of the vehicle are on the tires of the vehicle, so that's another tip. Secondly, how much are the wipers for that specific vehicle? Because those are things that you normally change maybe after 3 to 5 years. Thirdly, brake pads. Some cars have brake pads for all wheels. Those cars tend to have brake pads that are more expensive than cars that only have brake pads in the front. So that's also another factor to check. Fourthly, shocks. Depending on where you drive your vehicle and how badly you drive your vehicle. If you drive your vehicle mostly on tarmac and you don't go on speed humps at 100 kilometers per hour, you're going to rarely change your shocks. So just make sure that you check the shocks and how much they cost, because you might buy the vehicle and they didn't change the shocks and you're gonna need to buy the shocks. So just make sure that you check how much the shocks cost. When you're done checking at the spares, now you can go back to the dealership and check for the following: how much it is to service your car. They are going to want your VIN number, your model number, and how many kilometers your car is currently on, so that they can check how much your service would cost. But I always suggest that you service your car at the dealership that is your car's manufacturer. For example, if you have a Toyota, go service your car at Toyota. Although Toyota is expensive, but they know their cars. If your car's kilometers are at 100,000, they know what kind of service that car needs. So I suggest take your car to the brand's dealership to get serviced. Don't take it to Bush Mechanic or any other dealership, because they'll only do the kind of service that you need and they'll still charge you more. Number 5. On number 5, this one is very important. You need to relax when you're buying your car. Don't emotionally buy a vehicle. Give yourself time. Look around. Don't say, I want this one. This one is the one. Okay, just give yourself time to look at different dealerships. But when you're looking at dealerships, make sure, I emphasize, make sure you buy it from a registered dealership. If you're going to buy a Corolla, just buy it at Toyota. Easier. Or if you buy your Corolla at VW, just make sure that VW took the car to Toyota to get serviced before you buy the vehicle. Don't buy a vehicle that is unserviced, and don't buy a vehicle from an unregistered dealer like Nkulu's background dealer. And it's very important to note that when you're buying a vehicle, just make sure that the vehicle has been properly inspected and the vehicle has no problems. If you buy a vehicle that has a leaking engine that's on you and that is out of warranty and out of service plan, you're going to have a problem. and you are going to have a headache. So just make sure that the car has been properly inspected for any faults or mechanical issues or electrical issues. So now, in conclusion of our talk, I just want to leave you with this piece of advice. An expensive vehicle is expensive to maintain, especially when the vehicle is out of warranty and out of service plan. It will dig deep in your pockets. Just make sure that you don't buy a pre-owned expensive vehicle. Just buy yourself a car you can afford, a car you can maintain. So that wraps our lounge talk about buying a pre-owned vehicle. And if you're still looking for a vehicle, feel free to get in contact with me. Just click in the description below and look for my details there. Until the next video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.